Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to another episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Mike Lee. Mike, give everyone a bit of a background to yourself.
Okay, well, I am a real estate investor. I'm a full-time real estate investor based out of Toronto, Canada. I use a virtual wholesaling and flipping model. I got into real estate about 3.5 years ago and quickly realized that properties in Toronto are like way too expensive for most people. Yep. So I tried to focus my investing on cities and towns further out so I could get, cheaper prices.
Yep.
And ultimately that led to me running a business where I'm mainly doing just virtual wholesaling and flipping and a little bit of buy and hold, but that's mainly what I do.
Awesome. If you don't mind, a little bit of origin story. How did this, I'm sure that there's a progression to getting to that point where you're running your own virtual wholesaling business. Where does this start? Where do you start with this?
Okay, I'll give you a quick briefing on like what I was doing before I even got into real estate. And then I was involved in another business, which I ended up transitioning from that business into real estate. So from a young age, I mean, even when I was like 15 years old, I was actually selling light bulbs, saran wrap, and aluminum foil door to door.
Really?
Yeah. I was the kind of guy, like even at high school, I was like selling sneakers and stuff like that, right? So I already had like probably some kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, but I didn't realize it. So I actually, as I started growing up, I tried to work corporate jobs and I worked many different jobs, but I somehow like just didn't fit in exactly. So I ended up over the course of time, I ended up getting into sales roles, and I did sales for about 7 or 8 years, from my early 20s to my late 20s. I was a marketing director at a solar company, where we were a solar brokerage. We would offer options for residential homeowners to get solar panels on their roof. It was all covered through government incentives. And what would happen is the government would allow a certain number of applications per year. Once they exceed the amount, they would actually shut down the program, which essentially puts our business in a quote unquote lockdown. And I'm using that phrase because people actually understand what I mean when I say that these days, right? So we went through like 3 of these lockdowns, and they would last like 4 to 6 months. So we would go from making decent income. Like I built myself up to a point where at a time I believed I was making okay income. But we keep getting shut down. And by the time the 3rd shutdown rolled through, I decided to get into another business that was, in my mind, more secure, which led me to ultimately going to real estate meetups, meeting other investors. I was very fortunate to go to an event where I met some of the biggest wholesalers and flippers just by accident. And then when I figured out that what they were doing, I was like, wow, I got to get in on this. And the next day I was literally wholesaling full time, pretty much.
Oh, that's awesome. So, okay. So you want to start doing wholesaling. You've decided that's where to go. It's like to go from zero to full-time wholesaler. I'm guessing mailers, like how do you progress into that?
Okay. So from zero knowledge. So at least I had sales and marketing experience. So I figured that I looked into different niches of real estate investing.
Right.
I figured out very quickly I didn't want to be a real estate agent because I didn't want to deal with all the, the clients that people deal with. I just felt like it wasn't a good fit for me. Okay, so
I didn't want to be an agent because I didn't want to work weekends and evenings.
It's pretty much a must, right? So I kind of decided I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to leverage my sales and marketing skills. So right away, I just started gravitating to wholesaling. And the way I got started, I didn't know what a motivated seller was exactly. So I set that as one of my goals. I need to know I need to thoroughly understand what exactly I'm targeting here. So I literally just went on Kijiji. I started calling literally everyone that was selling their house, including like people that were even renting their houses too. I was just like, hey, you know, I'm looking for a house to buy in your neighborhood. And I saw your ad, so I thought I'd call you. And sometimes they, like at the beginning, I would waste a lot of time. Like I would see a house for sale in London and I would just tell the seller I'm in their neighborhood so I could go see it.
Yeah.
But after a couple of months of doing that, I gained a lot of knowledge and understanding of what a deal was. And then I was able to build up from there. So once it took me, there's like a learning curve about, let's say 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, I just started building up a bunch of momentum.
And so like, what things did you learn? You're learning that you didn't need to go on site. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Somebody needs to go on site. Doesn't have to be you. So let's just say that you're buying a property and you live in Toronto and the property's in. I'll give you the farthest example I have so far. I bought a property. I bought a flip in St. John, New Brunswick last year. I just sent the contractor there to give me a quote, and I said I'm not even going to work with you unless you give me a full photo and video walkthrough. So I needed to be detailed. I actually made an instructional video on how to do this for people.
Oh, that's golden.
So if I've never worked with them, I'm just like, hey, there's a 15-minute video. Here you go. Here's my link. And that's been working for me so far.
Okay, let's backtrack slightly. So instructional video. Can you help me? Give me an instructional video. What do I need to train these people? Because I have an instructional video for how to take photos, and I'm like, maybe we can join forces and make the amazing video.
Okay. Well,
is there certain things you want like pictures of, or like what? Tell them how did you lay that out?
Okay, so there's a video and there's a checklist. So the checklist is like a Microsoft Word document. It says, hey, I need 2 angled photos of each room of the house. Yeah. Which would be like, for example, like I'm actually in like the first floor, like a living room area in my house. So I would say take one photo from this side of the room and another photo from the other opposite side of the room. So I'm seeing both sides of the room. I'll ask the person who's taking the picture. Usually they have a smartphone.
Yeah.
So I'll say use the wide angle lens mode on your phone.
Okay.
Which means that it'll actually give you a bigger view.
Yep.
I'll say to make sure that it's the picture includes both an image of the floor and the ceiling. So then you really can so that they're not aiming it too high up, too low. Okay. In terms of, I haven't done this video in a long time, so
I'm sorry, I'm putting you right on the spot.
No, it's okay. I'll make sure that the HVAC there's pictures of the HVAC. I'll make sure there's pictures of the electrical. I'll make sure there's pictures of the exterior. And then on the video walkthrough, I have, I can't get into details on it right now because I haven't done this video. I filmed it a long time ago, but I would say to them, like when you're doing a filming, I would explicitly state how exactly I want them to pan the camera as well.
Yeah.
So like what I'm doing with my hands right now, I'm kind of moving in like a square motion.
Yeah.
In certain rooms, you can do that and you get like a really good picture of what's going on in there. And in certain rooms, you actually literally need to walk in and kind of like trace around the room so you can get a full idea.
When I started investing in the US, I did it by myself and had to go through the growing pains of doing that. GlenSutherland.com/coaching. A 12-week coaching program done 1 hour per week over Zoom from the comfort of your own home. Classes are kept to 5 people to be able to answer everyone's questions. Shortcut the process. Make fewer mistakes. Curriculum available at GlenSutherland.com/coaching.
Cool. I'm going to jump on yours and add some more points just for people who are listening.
Please do.
Yeah. I like to look a picture from the edge of the side of the roof to see if there's like multiple layers of shingles, condition of the shingles, a zoomed in photo of the shingles, the eaves trough if it's attached to the house. What else do we do? Inside and outside pictures of the windows to see what condition, if they're leaking, if there's mold. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of winging this as well as we go. But anyway, I think we're building a decent checklist. People are getting the idea that it's you don't need these. The better photos are like the more detail you can get, right? So, especially if you're wholesaling, like even when I'm buying from wholesalers, they tend to show you problems, like anything that looks off to you, send a picture of it. And is the exhaust hooked up for like the furnace, the hot water heater, if it's gas, and all those sort of things too, right? Because sometimes they're not hooked up at all.
I think the point is that I do want to see the problems as someone that's coming in as a buyer or even a wholesaler, but don't take a picture of the toilet as a picture of the entire washroom. Like, I need to see the whole thing. I do want to see the toilet if it is an issue, but I don't want to see like if there's mold if there's water damage on the ceiling, don't just take a picture of a leaky ceiling. Like, show me the whole thing so I can get an idea what I'm working with here.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so where were we talking about before we went way off track on this video?
I got started. I did about 3 to 6 month learning curve. Yeah, and then I started building momentum. And the way I actually built momentum in the start, you're gonna find this kind of funny because I listened to one of your podcasts last night. You're talking about hard money loans. Yeah. So the first property, I had already wholesaled like 6 or 7 deals. Yeah. And then I went into a property that I ultimately ended up purchasing and wholetailing. I picked it up for 175 grand. It's in Kingston, Ontario. It's a bungalow. It was a bungalow with like a 1 acre lot. Like, it was like actually an amazing deal. But at the time I was still kind of an amateur. So like, I didn't even realize how good of a deal it was. Yeah. The sellers, they got a job offer. They're like a husband-wife couple. They got a job offer to take over a retirement home. All expenses covered. Like, they don't have to pay for anything. But the caveat was they had to relocate in like a week or less, because that retirement home, whatever it was, like, they really needed staff. Yeah. So like they would have everything covered, including like even their cell phone and internet bills. Like, it was like full all expense covered. So they just told me, listen, you could take this house. We're not even going to touch it. Like, everything that's here now and what you see, the furniture, the living room, I think they took the TV, but they left a lot of other stuff, right? Like I said, we're just leaving it as is. So they negotiated the price with me. They gave me 175. Yeah. I went to go get it appraised. It appraised for 275 as is at the time. And I decided to close on it with a hard money loan. So I got a 65% loan to appraised value, which I believe was like, ends up being like 190 something. Yeah. After paying lender fees, I think I had like an 8 grand credit check on closing, my first ever close. I was still crapping myself. I don't want to swear on your podcast, but I was like crapping my pants. I was so nervous. And looking back on it, it's like the deal was so easy. It was like basically a joke. So we just cleaned it out. Like, we used the 8 grand. We just cleaned out the house and we sold it. 273.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So, like, for your Canadian hard money loan, you said that you only got 8 grand, and there looked like there was a lot of meat in there. Like, what were the fees like on something like that? I don't remember exactly the fees right now, but I like to ask you questions that are really old. No, it's okay. Yeah, I believe it was like a 3.5 or 4% broker lender fee. Okay, yeah, so it was high points. Yeah, they don't know me. It's the first time I'm ever closing on a property, right? And I also didn't have a lot of money in the bank either. So, if they look at that, I don't have a lot to show them, right? So yeah. I believe it was like 3 or 4% lender fee. I don't exactly remember the interest rate, but it must have been like 10, maybe like 10%. Yeah, interest only. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and how long did it take you to sell that place? The cleanup was a week, and then the listing was like 5 days holding back offers, and it was sold within 5 days. Pop then. Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right. So this has been actually a really meaty podcast. There's been a lot of gems in here. We still haven't even got to like your business to what it looks like today. So take me down this track, and we'll get there some point. Okay, so that first deal happens.
at that point in time, I actually ended up partnering with an individual. He's a realtor.
Yeah.
And he also had a lot of experience in reno management. And I had wholesaled him a deal. And he came back to me and he was like, you know that you could be flipping some of these houses and making more profit. And why don't we figure out a way to do this together? So that first deal that I actually wholetailed, that was the most profit. That was the most money I ever saw coming into me at once.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow. But I was relatively smart about it. I think I went out for dinner and I literally invested all the rest of it back into marketing and growing the business. So before long, I had a whole bunch of new deals coming in, all off market deals. I started working with that partner. We started actually doing renos and flips. And then I started realizing that not only can you buy properties virtually, you can also flip them virtually as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So fast forward to, really what it progressed to was like, we started picking up properties with a much faster velocity. In the end, I ended up parting ways with that partner. So we did a certain amount of deals together, but now I'm doing this on my own now.
Yeah. When you were doing that, how did you structure that for being a wholesaler?
50-50.
50-50. Okay.
50-50, everything 50-50.
Okay.
Sometimes we'd raise capital and bring in more JV partners, and then we'd change the spread a little bit.
Yeah.
But anything that was between us was all 50-50. Like we opened a corp and we kept everything.
And then who qualified for the loan? He did, or you did, or together you did, or a new corp did, or?
Most of the deals are all private money, right? So it was just the same way I just explained to you, loans to appraised value.
Right.
Later on, we got into doing construction loans as well.
Yeah.
Which I think you've explained on some of your podcasts, but basically like we get an as is value on the property, an as complete value.
Yeah.
And then we get a loan on closing based on the as is value. So let's say maybe 70% loan to the as is value of a property, but the lender would be willing to lend up to 70%, let's say, of the as complete value. So then we actually have what's called like a reno construction draws.
Yep.
As we start doing the work on the property, our lender will continue funding the deal.
Yeah. And then this might be a stupid question, but I'm assuming whenever I do this in the States, I have $100 fee for every draw to have some inspect. Is it similar to that, or they just trust you when you say I need some money?
So it really depends on your relationships, right? At the beginning, there's less trust, so you usually will pay more fees. But for example, like right now at the stage that I'm at with some of the lenders I've worked with, like they're repeat. Some of them have literally been working with me over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Right. So we usually will send them like the latest photo and video updates, and we'll be like, hey, here's where we're at, drywalls, installations in, framing's done, installations in, drywall's in, and we're requesting another draw now. And then they'll see that in the photos. Right. So.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So you got this built up, you're doing some of the projects yourself, you're still flipping out some of the projects, you're doing it all. Any systems, software, any way that you keep track of this? It sounds like you got a lot of leads, some sort of follow-up system. How do you keep this all making sense for you?
Okay. So, wow.
That's a big question. Sorry.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go back to pretty much when I started like gaining a lot of momentum, started picking up a lot of properties, because it was just myself and that one other partner.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was the full sales and marketing division, like acquisition of the business. I was raising money as well. And I was basically running around everywhere. You could do it yourself where you're handling a lot, but I believe once you start to scale up an operation, it becomes very difficult to do it 100% on your own.
Right.
I met a lady, I was down in Nashville last week.
Yeah.
I met a lady that actually managed to do 40 deals, mainly wholesales and flips, like on her own, no team. And I was like, you're crazy. You're like superwoman. Like, but year one, I was actually doing a lot of those same things. And we needed to build a team. So we ended up bringing on a project manager to help with managing the renos.
Okay.
An operations manager to help with managing like the ins and outs of the company.
Okay.
And we eventually ended up hiring an acquisition person as well. And fast forward to today, I also have a disposition manager in my company as well.
Okay. And then do you keep these people, are these like Canadians or are these like virtual assistants like over some other country?
I actually have a virtual assistant that started working with me when I was in solar.
Yeah.
I think she started working with me in 2016. Wow, it's almost been like 6 years, maybe, let's say.
Yeah.
She's still working with me now.
Okay.
And she's in the Philippines. Everybody else I'm working with is in Canada.
Awesome. This is really cool. Look at my watch. Should we continue? I think we'll wrap this up, and maybe we'll have to have you come back again in like 6 months or something. We'll talk more about the actual virtual real estate. But like, I know this is great. Like, there's a lot of checklists, a lot of stuff that people could take out of this. Mike, if people wanted to track you down, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Okay. I'm not on social media a lot, but you can. My Facebook is Michael Lee. Good luck trying to find me like that.
There's a couple of them.
There's more. Yeah, there's a couple in like just Toronto alone. On Instagram, it's @official Michael Lee.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you want to send me an email, it's mike@416homebuyer.ca.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show, Mike. I do really appreciate it.
Thank you.